Okay, so let's take a look at the data pool, because that was the question by one of you. Okay, so whether it is manual or automation, you maintain the same kind of data pool more or less. So okay, so these are test case ID, right? Test case type, either regression testing or automation testing. A means automation testing, so I just put it A. And test case ID and scenario. What is a scenario? Like I said, scenario is like a story. You narrate a story and test it end to end. Okay, end to end means it covers all parts of application, like front end, back end, database, web services, or everything. Okay, and what is the expected result? You can also put, and what is the different parts of application? These are all related to application. So, and you can also maintain different tabs like smoke test and regression testing. Okay, so I'll just go to the right. Oh, I think I went to the different file, notes file. Okay, so this is not the one. All right. Okay, so how do you go to the right here? Okay, so data pool means you will be having these like this. For example, you have username, right? Username, you will fill all this. This test case will use this username and password, email ID, and demographic details like first name, last name, date of birth, gender, etc., etc. So basically, it will hold all the data, dummy data or synthetic data, like I said before, whatever you are going to enter into the application field, form fields, right? So this will be used for both manual and automation. So don't worry, here it is programmed. It will take timestamp as Alex1234. So that's why I left it. It is totally programmable data pool. So very advanced data pool, but it will look like this, similar more or less. And you can maintain different tabs for different modules. Okay, so like this, these are smoke tests, and I cannot move right. Once you download, you can actually open it with the Excel spreadsheet. I don't have Excel. Okay, let's see. Okay, I can actually move right now. Okay, so you can actually fill this data with whatever data you want to test your scenarios. Okay, so these are all. The top yellow one is actually called header. Okay, so this is header. That means, okay, if I want to provide security question, let's say, right, this will be filled in with, and security answer, this one. So like this, and this is pertaining to the test case number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. So basic the utility of this is to hold the data for testing purpose. That's why you call it a test data pool. Okay, and let's move to the next one, next deliverable. This is the test status. So test status will contain final report. Okay, so it will contain scenario or test case and test status, pass or fail. So if it is a pass, you can select pass. This is mostly pre configured. So I have entered like pass, fail, aborted, or whatever. You can actually select from one of these, and it is color coded. So it will be easier for the test manager to comprehend this. And the next one is regression test templates. Is more or less same thing. So I have these regression test cases, and as part of automation, how many I would want to run, like how many had passed and how many had failed, how many has been aborted, and blah blah blah. And where did I store the scripts, etc. All these things will be discussed in this. Okay, I also want to show you a sample test case document. Okay, so then you can actually write some test cases. I think last homework was to write the test scenario. I'm hoping some of you have done that homework. So test case is nothing but elaboration of test scenario. So let me, yeah, so put this one. So today's homework will be to definitely write some test case so that you can get some hands-on. And don't worry, in lab session, Russell will cover more on sample test cases. Like you'll be given some tasks and you have to write actually the whole test case in detail. So that way, that is a major task of any tester. So when you join the project as a manual tester or automation tester also, you should definitely know how to write test case. That is a basic thing. Okay. So this is a scenario I explained before, right? Family having so and so income, blah blah blah, they are applying for. That is like a story. Now, how do you execute it? You cannot execute it per se, right? Now I have to segregate these into some steps, step by step manner. Step one is, okay, you go to the browser and log in with this URL, right? And what is the expected result? This is the header, the test step, description, expected result, and actual result. These are the basic columns in any test case. And when you open the URL, expected result is the URL is open, right? And when you execute it, you fill this actual result with URL has opened. So home page, you start the page and click on this link, and what should happen? Something should happen. And while execution, you will actually write something is happened. So always the expected result is having should. This should happen. And while execution, you actually fill this column. What has happened? If both are equal, then that is pass. So you will have one more column here that would say pass or fail. So likewise, you step by step, you cover all these things. I'll just come down.
Sadab, do you also put here the response time for each one?
No. Response time is for performance, not the manual testing. Performance has the response times and all those. So we are not dealing with the performance testing. Otherwise, I could have shared you. That is totally different field altogether. Okay. So this is for the functional testing. You have to focus on functionalities, all these functionalities. What happens if this is a scenario? How do you execute this? Okay. So you click on this. If something happens, something else happens. You click on that link, something happens. This should happen, and this is happening or not. And you fill the data with the data from the data pool. Something else happens. So expected result, you set it during the test design, all right. And actual result, you will set it at the execution time. And finally, you cover all parts of application like database, web services, everything. And execution wise, when you fill all this, when a step, both expected and actual steps are same, what would you term this as? You say it is pass, right? So final step will be status. Here you will actually mention pass or fail. You will actually write, okay? So if all the steps are passed, then you consider this whole test case to be passed, otherwise failed. So you can also maintain different modules. So module 1, you can provide the worksheets like this, and module 1, module 2, module, or same test cases, different test cases for same module, you can also maintain in the same spreadsheet. So by maintaining like this, all right, or you can maintain the different spreadsheets. Okay, so pertaining to your question, the response time is irrelevant in this case because this is a functionality testing. Response time only comes into picture when you are dealing with what? Performance testing, right? So the performance testing is not about the functionality testing. It is majorly to emulate this for certain number of concurrent users. Like I want to run this scenario for 500 users, right? Not just one user. Then you are concerned about the this thing, response time. So I already explained, right? Response time is nothing but client taking time, server time plus network time, and then you average it by total number of total sum of all response times of all pages divided by the total number of pages. That would give you average response time, and you check back with the SLA. The expected result is just one liner. 90% of time it should be less than 5 seconds, and 10% of time it should be greater than 5 seconds and less than or equal to 10 seconds, and that's it. You interpret the result. That is a major task. So don't worry about performance yet, because you have to learn the basics of the manual testings first, and then I will cover automation testing. Performance testing is different ball game altogether, trust me. So do just basics, whatever you need to know. I already explained it. Do not go beyond that, because if you go beyond that, you're gonna get yourself confused. So stick to this and you can move on. If you have more questions about it, you can let me know. Okay, so what we are discussing about first is test initiation. Okay, just to recapitulate. Then test planning. I showed you what is the test planning and sample document and how it would look like and what it would discuss, different chapters of the test plan. And this is not, as a junior test member, this is not your thing. I mean, you don't have to work on plan, but it is good to know. So that's why I explain you. The major task of yours is this. That's why I marked it as with this asterisk, test design. Okay, so senior test engineer will actually come up with the scenarios, because junior test engineers may not cover everything. So what is a test scenario? It's a story. Like I said, it is to describe the whole thing as a story like this. That is test scenario. And test case is like this, explaining or elaborating this story into step-by-step manner with all the expected result, and you can leave the actual results for the execution. So majorly the test case writing will be taken care by junior test engineer. Okay, and senior test engineer will work with junior test engineer in order to create the test scenarios, if junior test engineer is not capable of doing it on his own. Okay, so basically what you have to do in order to come up with this story, the test engineer, junior or senior, has to go through the business requirement. So like I said, every business requirement has an ID, and like this, let's say you already worked on it, right? Login should only be successful with user ID with this and password with this. Now you have to write this into test case like this. So what would you do? You go to the URL is access, then open the login page and enter all this BB and ECP. Enter minimum 6 characters, okay, right here. And what should happen? It should actually go to the next page after clicking login button. Okay, then again repeat the step. Okay, come back and enter 6 minus 1 5. Then what should happen after clicking the next button? It should not go to the next page. It should display the error message. So likewise, you write all this into steps covering all BB and ECP. So that would be your next homework. So I'll specify homework here. Now what you have to do is write test case, okay, for the above scenario. So what is the scenario? Scenario is the same, you have already written. So you take this requirement and write it into test scenario. That's it. So login, user login, let's say, should only be successful with a user ID of minimum 6 and maximum 30 characters and password which is valid. Okay, so we are fixing the password, and you have to run the BV and ECP with 6 and 30. So you already know, and ECP also, alphanumeric and special characters and all those. So now write test case like this. You already have this document shared. Okay, come up with one test case. Single test case will be sufficient. Okay. Functional specification is nothing but, yeah, okay. Actually, I should have put it beneath. That's okay. Functional specification is just little bit elaboration of the business requirement, because business requirement is raw. So this will also talk about little bit in further. Oh, and with also it has screenshots or wireframes. And okay, so there you go. So BV8 is already done and ECP is already done, because you must have already be done with the BV and ECP. So you already know this min minus 1, min plus 1, max minus 1, max plus 1. What is going to cause successful page rendering and what is going to cause error message in the same page. Okay, both same thing. Okay, I will actually remove this. It's already given below. Okay, so test scenario I am giving you, okay, based on this requirement or specification, one happy path and one negative path. Okay, so verify that if user ID is 4 alphanumeric lower characters and password is 4 alphabets entered and submitted, then the next page, whatever is accounts page, should be displayed. Okay, test data is this. Okay, now you take this scenario and write into these steps. You actually remove all these and you fill this with the steps related to this. That is a positive. That means it should be successful. Positive. Okay. And scenario 2 is negative. Verify the user ID is 4 alpha lowercase and password is 3 alphabet, which is not matching this. Remember? Okay. So I am taking 3 alphabets as password. So obviously it is min minus 1. And then what happens? Error message is displayed. Okay. So all you have to do is just subdivide into steps. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be same for all of you. You just divide into steps. Some might divide into 4 steps or some might divide into 5 steps. This will actually give you good idea about how to write test cases.